Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here, and today we're going to be discussing the tier shift for September. This means that a lot of things changed in August, as you can see by this graphic, specifically from RU to NU. So we're going to get into all of this and more in this video. So first off, let's discuss the Pokemon that were fortunate enough to rise up tiers, perhaps because they excelled in tiers that they previously did not excel in. For example, things like Hatterene and Kyurem previously were fine UU Pokemon. In fact, they were some of the best Pokemon in the tier. However, now due to some newfound niches in OU, they're rising to OU. That can also be said for Necrozma, which is running the Power Herb set, Tyranitar, which is finally running a Stealth Rock set more often than not, Toxtricity with the Drain Punch set, the Shift Gear set we showcased on this channel, and Skarmory, which is just your run-of-the-mill Spiker. In addition, some Pokemon that were banned from UU, but not quite OU by usage, now are OU by usage, and those Pokemon are going to be Aegislash, Gengar, and Primarina. So as you can see, we have a nice 9 Pokemon going from non-OU by usage to OU by usage, from UU or UUBL, and in addition to that, there's also Ditto coming all the way up from NU to make it even 10, so that's pretty interesting. Ditto, of course, is used as a choice card for on stall teams. It pretty much lets infinite games happen, and also is a great anti-offensive option as well. So yeah, but there are also more rises. And thankfully, the rises don't hit as bad as the drops for these because, well, things are dropping like flies still. Next time around is going to hit PU really hard, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, so some water types rose up and some grass types rose up in particular. RUBL was the home of Sharpedo after it got banned from RU. However, UU players seem to catch on to it pretty quickly as now they're using it, and in addition to that, UU players also quite like Araquanid for what I'd assume is a variety of reasons, but in particular I've seen sticky webs and strong physical attacks being good reasons for using it, so it rose from RU to UU. And unfortunately for the RU player base, one of their staple Pokemon, one of the best Pokemon in the tier, Rotom, also rose from RU to UU as well. Finally, Golurk, one of the better ghost types and physical attackers in the NU tier, with Poltergeist, Dynamic Punch, Earthquake, Heat Crash, Stealth Rock, Close Combat, etc. A whole slew of options that made it very appealing in my eyes and something that I quite like using. Unfortunately rose up to RU via usage as well, so that is one toy that NU will definitely miss. But another thing that rose up from the depths of ZU to PU is Leafeon, which is cool. So yeah, these are all the Pokemon that rose. And I gotta say, the things that surprised me the most probably are gonna be Araquanid rising by UU. I didn't really think it would gain that much traction. Maybe I'm just a bit off my perception of the tier, but truth be told, I thought it was a good fringe pick in the metagame, but I didn't think it would gain consistent enough usage to rise. So yeah, I think the rest of these are to be expected. Admittedly, I'm not super familiar with Leafeon and PU, but it seems like a Pokemon that kind of has been a staple in PU for the last couple of generations, so why not? All of the rises to OU definitely seem more than justified. Primarina in particular was really surging in recent OLT. Aegislash has seen steady usage again alongside Tyranitar and Kyurem. Hatterene's a good anti-metagame Pokemon. Meteor Beam Necrozma got spammed. Skarmory with Spikes is being used a lot. Toxtricity is amazing against Doll with the Drain Punch set. And Gengar is just Gengar. It should have been OU to begin with the whole time probably. As for the lower tier ones, I don't really have much comment on Sharpedo. I think it's really great with the close combat option and also just a wide array of attacks on both ends of the spectrum with speed boost. It's cool. Rotom definitely belongs in UU, so no real shocks there. It's unfortunate for the RU player base though. Maybe we'll get it back in the future, but we'll have to wait and see. And Golurk is a very threatening Pokemon that I wish stayed in NU, but you know, you can't have everything you want. Anyway, as for the drops, which is the main focus of this video, there are some things that dropped from OU to UU, and then there are some things that dropped from OU to UUBL or RU and so on and so forth because of quick drop. So for example, if something was in RU before, then it went up to OU by usage and it drops back down, it skips the UU step and it goes hard down to RU, so they call that a quick drop, if you will. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, because of that, you're seeing things like Pokemon going from OU to RU or OU to NU. So for example, let's take an NU Pokemon, let's take Silvally Ghost. If somehow Silvally Ghost got up to 58% usage in UU for some ungodly unknown reason, and then the next month it got 1% usage in UU, and it wasn't used enough in RU, then Silvally Ghost would fall all the way back down to the, the NU tier, exactly. So that's how quick drops work. I hope that makes sense. And I know that's a bit of an extreme, unrealistic example, but I just wanted to prove the point and emphasize the concept of quick drops, if you will. Anyway, so the quick drop is Torkoal. Torkoal, some did not meet the threshold for usage, and that's also reflected in Venusaur's usage this month, which is a little surprising to me. But also, it looks like Rain didn't see as much usage, although it saw enough for Palper to remain OU, I believe. So, yeah, I think that Sun is better than Rain personally, but it seems as if other people feel differently, and there's nothing wrong with that, so that's reflected in usage here. Thankfully for UU, they're not subject to Venusaur roaming free in the tier with Torkoal once more, as it's UUBL, alongside Chansey, which fell off the face of the earth due to Blissey's resurgence with heavy duty boost and teleport. Finally, some other Pokemon that fell from OU to UU are Kingdra, which is a rain staple, but apparently it's not as much of a staple as Pelipper, as Pelipper I don't see dropping here. Mawak Alola, which has been a fearsome physical attacker for the entirety of the metagame, but has definitely fallen off since the first days of the Pokemon DLC metagame, as it's retained less and less defensive niche, whereas its offensive niche is great. It needs to be either fast or bulkier in order to have a great presence, and it just doesn't have that going for it. Slowbro fell to UU, which is honestly surprising to me. I think the teleport Slowbro experiment has unfortunately been a failure thus far in the OU metagame, but I still think strategies like Future Sight plus Teleport are simply amazing, and we should definitely try them out more. It really helps invalidate Pokemon that are otherwise super prevalent, such as Toxapex. Speaking of invalidating things like Toxapex, Jungle Healing bulk up variants of... Crap, I don't even remember its name. Oh boy, we're looking up on my phone. Yes, we have the unprofessional interlude of looking up something on my phone. Grass, dark, new Pokemon. Zarude, it's Zarude. Yeah. I knew it. Oh my god, I knew that. I'm embarrassed now. Okay. Well, Zarude also, Pokemon that with Bulk Up, Jungle Healing, Power Whip, and Darkest Lair, or Throat Chop, or whatever dark move you wish to use in it, is actually pretty cool. Separation used it to a great deal of success in the official ladder tournament, and his team building was not only creative, but also very effective and on point for the metagame, so I definitely would advise trying that set out. But Jungle Healing restores 25% health, which is good for things like Scald, or resisted weak attacks, Volt Switches, those type of things. And it can even take physical attacks after bulk ups, and it also heals up status. So let's say Toxapex gets a Scald Burn, or a Toxic Poison, or Dragapult gets a Thunder Wave off, or a Will-O-Wisp off, or whatever it may be. You're able to withstand those attacks, deal off damage, and heal up while being able to soak in the status and just negate it. So it's really cool. I think it's going to be better off in UU than OU, though. I think we'll see Slowbro back in OU eventually, but Zarude might be down there to stay, and I think that might be where it belongs. So yeah, Torkoal falling to RU could spell Sun teams back into relevance there, but I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. They also have Ninetales, and honestly, with Pokemon like Rhyperior, Dragology, Gigalith in particular, being there to potentially negate some of the abuses of Sun, I don't know if it'll be as prevalent as it might have been in a prior edition of the metagame, or it might have been even in OU at points in time, so we'll have to wait and see. It feels as if the tier is naturally anti-Sun, which could be good, and it won't break the living out of Torkoal, hopefully. In addition, Heracross fell to RU, but I thought it was banned in RU at some point. It might be RUBL, don't quote me on that, but Heracross is definitely not thriving in the underused metagame and environment, which is unfortunate as it does have access to spikes now, so wherever it ultimately resides, I'll be interested to see what niche it could carve out. In addition to that, 3 Pokemon that were used in RU a decent amount, but unfortunately got banned in NU in prior parts of the generation. Tauros, Vanillux, and Vikavolt are all now banned from NU still in NUBL, but fell out of RU via usage to the NUBL tier. Tauros was a great physical attacker with a lot of speed, Body Slam, Throat Chop, Earthquake, Iron Head, Mega Horn, Rock Slide, those type of options. Just pick 4, really paying attention. Close Combat too, right. Yeah, I know that Body Slam plus Throat Chop were for much staples, but it was a good physical attacker for a while. It just ultimately fell off a little bit. Vanillux, which was mainly used on Aurora teams, I believe, there wasn't really a dedicated Hail archetype, unfortunately. As you see, Alolan Sandslash also falling to NU. So yeah, and Vikavolt, it's just, it never really had much sticking power in RU, unfortunately. It was very strong in the special side, but that's about it. All those Pokemon fell to NUBL. However, the list of Pokemon that fell from RU to NU is absolutely ridiculous. We're seeing some Pokemon in the tier that are just unmatched. They are going to completely redefine the metagame, and on top of this, also some Pokemon from before are also unbanned from the ban list in NU. We figured this would be a great time to try them out. So now, NU is taking a totally new look. We got Aromatisse, which is going to be a great fairy type. It has access to Nasty Plot, I believe, and Moonblast plus Psychic, so it's great against anything but steel types offensively, but also on the defensive end of the spectrum, it could run a Wish set, it could even run a Trick Room set, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Then there's Cinccino, which is going to be a strong, fast, physical attacker that has options with skill links such as Tail Slap and Bullet Seed and Rock Blast, as well as Knockoff, U-Turn, so on and so forth. It's going to be a great, fast option, perhaps a form of speed control, and metagames that is deeply deprived of that. In addition, Clawitz, a Pokemon that was NU, or at least familiar with the NU tier for most of last generation, will also be around as a prevalent special attacker. It has access to the ability that boosts things like Water Pulse and Dark Pulse and so on and so forth. Those two plus Aura Sphere, Ice Beam, U-Turn, etc. Potentially even Protect plus Toxic as it ran last generation, especially with the lack of Refresh on water types, could potentially come into play. Corsola Galar has finally fell all the way from OU down to NU over time, which is unsurprising seeing as it's very easy to manipulate and people have noticed that more and more over time. And some strong special attackers of the dragon type variety are also here to stay in Drampa, which is going to be an absolute killer, as it was previously a huge problem in the tier. One of the strongest Pokemon with, I believe, 135 special attack. Its Choice Specs, Draco Meteor, Hyper Voice, Flamethrower, which is mammoth good. Drowdon, which unfortunately is less prevalent offensively than things like the aforementioned Drampa, as it lacks moves like Flamethrower or even a fighting attack to help hit steel types, but with Draco Meteor plus Thunderbolt plus Slash Cannon, it's great. It also has the steel typing and more speed. Unfortunately, it has a very poor special bulk, so you gotta be careful there. Then there's Executor Alola, which is just going to be an absolute nuke with Draco Meteor, Leaf Storm, Giga Drain, and Flamethrower. Could run Specs, could run Trick Room, could run Life Orb, whatever it might be. It's really great. It can even run mixed or physical sets as well. So yeah, it's a very versatile offensive presence, and it's not too frail either, so that's really cool. Frostmoth is going to be here, and I'm really excited to see what it can do in the metagame. I think with Boots and Quiver Dance, it's going to be a really interesting option. Of course, it does lack much physical bulk, but it is going to be a strong setup sweeper, that much is for sure. Galvantula is around. It could be a Sticky Webber, really hard to see what role it will have in the tier right now, as it could do just about anything as a special attacker, or a Sticky Web setter, or a Revenge Killer, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see how the tier shifts around it, of course. Gastrodon, Jellicent, Poliwrath are all there as new bulky water set metagame, which is really cool. Gastrodon's actually seeing some usage in OU, whereas Jellicent might be seeing some usage in RU, but neither of them had enough sticking power to ultimately remain in those tiers, or RU in particular, as Gastrodon was RU'd by users before, technically. Whereas Poliwrath was just kind of waiting for it to fall eventually, as it never really had much of a niche in RU in my opinion. So yeah, more bulky waters, which is always good. Gastrodon's great because it has the electric immunity. Jellicent has an amazing ghost type as well, and Poliwrath, I guess fighting type's cool. It also has some new offensive options, so maybe we'll see that more and more as well. Next up we have Mudsdale, which is going to be a great stealth rocker. It also has the ability Stamina, which boosts its defense upon being hit. It's just going to be a really practical option. I imagine it'll be one of the better Pokemon in the tier. Ninetales are going to be able to set up Sun, but I believe Drought is banned from NU, so it's kind of a moot point. Pink Urchin will be there as well. Electric Train Spikes could be cool with Rising Voltage. Who knows what could have used that. Perhaps we'll see some Raichu sightings, so yeah, we'll have to stay tuned for that. In addition, Rhydon is back in business in NU, as it's going to be one of the most prominent stealth rockers alongside Mudsdale, I'd have to imagine. So yeah, Rabambi is another bug-type Sticky Webber, which might take out some of Galvantula's usage, unfortunately for it. But yeah, with Fairy-type, it's also really cool there. Runerigus is another competing stealth rock round, which we will see kind of refacing the stealth rock and hazard metagame. In addition, a fellow ghost-type to it, Sableye will be dropping into tier 2. And finally, Sandslash Alola, which is great with House Neutral and also gives a Steel type. Sigilyph, which is a strong special attacker with Tinted Lens and Magic Guard. I'm not sure which Silvally form. Is that Silvally Fairy? If so, that's great. Silvally Fairy and Whimsicott as 2 Fairy types added to the metagame. All in all, we got 3 Fairy types, which is really cool in my eyes. Actually, 4 if you count Rabambi. What? So I'm excited for that much is for sure, but also Arctivish fell from NU to PUBL, where I guess it's just going to reside for the next foreseeable future, as it's definitely not going to be picking up usage in this tier, with 3 potential Water Absorb / Storm Drain Pokemon dropping, in conjunction with numerous other Water Resist Clawitzer, Executor Alola, Whimsicott, and so on and so forth falling, so yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to be the best metagame for it. In addition to that, some Pokemon fell from NU to PU, which is good because you kind of have to make some space with all these Pokemon being dropped, and I imagine we're going to see a huge amount of drops to PU next month as well, but in particular these Pokemon now are Bouffalant, Gourgeist, I'm not sure which form honestly, Liepard, Lurantis, Luxray, Politoed, which is unsurprising. Luxray and Politoed just fell actually, I think Bouffalant did as well. And also Silvally, I'm not sure which form it is. There are only like 3 or 4 that are actually unbanned in NU and PU at this point, so I imagine there's a good chance it'll get banned, but that aside, that's cool. In addition, Dugtrio fell from PU to ZU, and Hatterene fell from PU to not fully evolved tier, which is cool. So yeah, lots of drops. Definitely let me know your thoughts on the new look of the NU tier. That's really interesting, but also let's go over the usage stats in the SSOU metagame really quickly. So we have Clefable being at number 1, which is unsurprising, and the rest is completely irrelevant. No? You guys actually want to hear? Okay, fine, fair enough. So let's look at some things that maybe rose up a lot in usage. Oh, look, everything in the top 10 besides Toxapex. Could this be the metagame finally reacting to Toxapex well? We are seeing more and more things like Cherrim, Hatterene, Necrozma, Alakazam, seeing usage on a consistent basis, as well as Magnezone. And Toxtricity also has shot up in usage all the way from UU to the top 30, so I'm wondering if the metagame is reacting nicely to attack specs, especially with things like Clefable being so common, which are great status absorbers that can potentially win Combine plus Thunderbolt or trick talk specs, So there's a lot of things going on that actually counteract talk specs. It's cool to see the metagame, especially with OLT happening, react to toxics. I'm not saying it's not suspect or ban worthy, as I think it probably is suspect worthy in my eyes, definitely. I still stand by that opinion, but the metagame at least is reacting to it. I think that's a sign of the tier improving with time, but we're still going to see more and more of this progress to actually be an ideal spot in the metagame. Of course, there are some really cool other options as well. Right behind Clefable at number 2 is Rillaboom, which has risen from RU to prominence, and that's really cool in my eyes. Finally, we're also going to be seeing Dragapult, Zeraora, an extra round at the top 5, really unsurprising there. 2 forms of speed control, and the best steel type in the tier. In addition to that, another steel type finally finds its way into the top 10, and that is Corviknight, which is really cool. Seeing Togekiss crack the top 10 is a bit surprising. People have been running Nasty Plot and Choice Scarf variants frequently, but top 10, I feel as if that's a bit overrating of its usage, as well as Mandibuzz at number 11. I feel as if both of those should drop a bit, and we should see more of things like Blissey, Magnezone, Hawlucha, Skarmory, Kyurem, maybe those Pokemon kind of falling into the top 15. So I wouldn't be surprised to see those trends in the future, but for now, Togekiss is reigning supreme with a spot in the top 10 alongside Volcarona, which is obviously a great sweeper. Toxapex, as we mentioned before, which actually has dropped a bit in usage, which is cool. Urshifu Single Strike, which is still a prevalent Pokemon on the physical attacking side, and Corviknight as well, which is the best defogger in my eyes by a long shot, which is why I think there should be more separation between it at 10 and Mandibuzz at 11. But anyway, just to round out the top 15, we also have Mandibuzz at number 11, which I feel seeing a bit too much usage. Hippowdon, which is a great Stealth Rocker, and Sandinducer at number 12, followed by Blissey, which is just doing great as a pivot at 13. Groudon, an amazing breaker, cracking the top 15, which is absolutely amazing. So a big shout out to Groudon and some agency stuff, if you will. And last but not least, Ferrothorn is at number 15. Now there's also the usage graphic for every single lower tier that I'll go over right now too. I'm just going to go over the top 10s for those, so give me 1 second. Alright, and to round things out, we also have the top 10 Pokemon used in each tier. This graphic unfortunately wasn't really cooperating with me, so I'm sorry if it's a bit bad resolution-wise, but in Uber is a tier that I'm definitely not the most familiar with. We see Zacian Crowned at 62% usage, which shows that it's really a dominant force, one of the metagame staples. It's probably hard not to use it on most teams. Followed by Eternatus, which is also a great dominant Pokemon. Marshadow. Necrozma Duskmane surprisingly is falling down in usage, which is interesting. I figured it would be his top 3 staple for the entirety of the generation, so it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And finally, Lunala, also in the top 5 as well. Seeing some Pokemon that were once OU also in the top 10, such as Cinderace, Darmanitan Galar, and Dracovish, that's cool. And also, OU stall staple Ditto is in prominence as well, followed by Mewtwo rounding out the top 10. As for UU, the recently banned Jirachi is going to be at number 1 in usage, followed by now OU Pokemon Skarmory. Any other OU Pokemon? No. Oh yeah, Hatterene at number 10. Oh, so yeah, those 2 rose to OU and Jirachi got banned, but the rest are still good. Rotom Wash might be the new washing machine king of Underused tier, followed by Mimikyu, which is a great Swords Dance user, Noivern, Keldeo, Bisharp, Cobalion, and Weezing Galar. So yeah, all of them are some pretty great presences in the metagame. Speaking of things that rose up, unfortunately Rotom-Mow, the number 1 Pokemon in RU, also rose alongside everything else stayed good for RU. So they got Gardevoir at number 2, seeing just under 20% usage, followed by Mantine, Dragalge, Kyurem, Stealth Rocker Steelix, Slowbro Galar, which is one of the best Pokemon in the tier in my eyes, Scarfer and Breaker, Passimian, Stealth Rocker Rapier, which is also great, and Umbreon rounding it out. As for NU, they didn't actually lose any of these Pokemon, I believe, although I think Toxicroak's broken, but that's neither here nor there. Toxicroak's at number 1 at just over 25% usage, followed by Miltank, the only other Pokemon at over 20% usage, which is largely present to counteract the next Pokemon, Decidueye, at number 3. Piloswine, the second-ranked Stealth Rocker in usage, interestingly enough, is at 16%, followed by Pivot Persian Alola, which has just been surging in usage for the last couple of months. Then Weezing, Ninjask, which in my eyes is very overrated, but it seems like a lot of people like it, so fair enough. Rotom, Lantern, and Acelgor, which is a new addition to the tier, round out the usage. As for PU and LC, I'm a bit less familiar with those tiers admittedly, but it looks like Sandslash really is establishing itself as one of the best Pokemon in PU, which is cool, followed by Pheasant, which is great. Utility Pokemon, Flying type, Breaker on the physical end, as well as a Defogger. Hitmonchan, which can be a good spinner, physical attacker, Stunfisk, which is the second-ranked Stealth Rocker, and Kling rounding out the top 5. We're also seeing some cool Pokemon like Appleton and Golduck within the top 10, which is great, because I didn't really think I'd see them rise to prominence in the competitive scene, and now we're seeing both of them, so that's really cool. And with an LC, it looks a lot more like last generation, with pretty much every single Pokemon being one that was prominent last generation. So we got Volibee, Mienfoo, Ponyard, Onix, Ibra, all Pokemon that were great last generation, followed by Ferroseed, Diglett, Mariani, Timber, and Spritzee to round things out, which is really cool. One new Pokemon that I seem to be seeing a lot in LC that's not quite on this list is Thwackey, so that's kind of the one addition to throw things out of order in this tier, if you will, but it's always cool seeing new Pokemon thrive, and that is one example of that. So yeah, definitely let me know what you think on the tier shifts and the usage statistics. I'd love to hear your thoughts below, and you definitely got hit with the hardest changes, so it's going to be interesting to see how that reacts. But in addition to that, there's also just a lot of things going on, and I'm really excited to discuss them all with you, so definitely let me know. Have a great day. Be sure to check out Jambad's book if you're looking to improve. Unfortunately, I'm on a secondary computer right now, so I'm not able to come up with as many analysis videos, but I still want to get this out. But if you're looking to improve, that book is your one-stop shop, guys. It is everything you could need and more, so I'll definitely leave a link to that below in the description. Definitely click on the link I provide if you want to get that. It'd be really cool, and I promise it'll be a great tool for you. And if not, don't worry, guys. There's still so much I'm going to be putting out content-wise. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm working on a project for getting up games for the recent tournament, Smilegon Snake Draft, which is going to have OU, UU, RU, NU, PU, LC, and doubles. Really cool stuff, so definitely stay tuned for that. And guys, have a great day. All right, this is Finch. Peace out, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed the tier shifts, and bye.